The Professional Bowlers Association Summer Tour on ESPN is being brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by Wrangler, American Hero Jeans. And now let's preview tonight's top 5 finalists. Making his 3rd appearance in the championship round this year and looking for his first career PBA title, it's 31-year-old Curtis Odom of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. His opponent in the opening game is a talented right-hander, Tony Westlake of Edmond, Oklahoma. Qualifying in the middle of the pack is Bryan Goebel of Merriam, Kansas, in search of his first career PBA title. Former PBA national champion Tom Kreitz will begin tonight's final slotted in the number 2 position, while David Ozio, who averaged a blistering 228 in 42 games this week, will need to capture just 1 match to notch his 5th career PBA title and collect $21,000 in first place prize money. And welcome everyone to active West Town Square Lanes in Riverside, California for the championship round finals of the $135,000 Kessler Classic. Hi everyone, I'm Denny Schreiner and welcome to Riverside, California, where they have had record temperatures and record scores as well. Last year it was survival of the fittest. This year a bit of inflation has set in. Working with me once again, PBA Hall of Famer Mike Durbin. Michael, you threw a few strikes in your days, but the scores were up this year.
They were definitely up this year compared to last year, Denny. Last year, it took a 197 average in order to cash in this event. It took only a 203 average in order to make our top 24. This year, by comparison, it took a 212 average to cash and 220 to make the top 24. 203 last year got you in the top 24. This year, with 203, you finished 100th in the field.
Well, there are many other stories that we will be developing as the telecast goes by, but considering the fact that we're right around July 4th, I'm sure that some more of you out there would like to hear some outstanding music concerning our beautiful country and its 213th birthday. So we do have a local performer. His name is Robbie Britt, and he is now going to perform America the Beautiful.
For spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. your patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Active West, Riverside, California. Opening match, $135,000 Kessler Classic between Tony Westlake and Curtis Odom. Tony opts to start on lane 45, the championship pair, 45 and 46.
And these two guys both got into the championship round in the last frame. Tony Westlake beat Pete Weber, and Curtis Odom hung on. He was in third and barely hung on by one pin to make it over Amleto Monticelli.
Well, a light 7-pin, and you see from the opening shot, the players exercising the option to play the extreme outside angle.
The critical, I used to say, critical outside angle, Denny. We may see one or two dip into the, referred to as the moat or the channel, the old vernacular, as he misses the 7-pin. Did you see that ball just slide in the middle of the lane? I don't know that Tony practiced spares during his half-hour practice, but you're going to get a look at this ball. The guy said the lanes are tighter tonight than they have been all week. Now watch this ball slide right about here. You can see right there, I saw it do that little dipsy-do, and I didn't think it was going to make it.
Label was turning over, but nothing was happening.
Kind of like your tires spinning on ice.
This one high through the nose, almost leaving the baby split. 3-pin stands for Curtis Odom. Your first good look at this 31-year-old right-hander, and a solid player indeed. Boy, he had a nice week.
He's had a nice year. This is his third telecast this year. He led the tournament in Atlantic City earlier this winter. He's made the last 2 consecutive years. He's made $20,000 in the regional program in the southern region. So he's an outstanding bowler. And is he going to make it?
Yes. Ever the pessimist. He didn't think that ball was going to hook back.
Well, yeah, I was just having my doubts there a little bit.
Well, as I chatted with him prior to the telecast, I said, well, you know, this is your third attempt at the national show, and how do you feel? He said, Denny, I bowled in 60 regional tournaments the last 4 or 5 years. I bowled a lot on television, and I feel very comfortable there. Little extra rosin there for the thumb hole. It is a touch warm, as we mentioned, 110 degrees in Riverside, California today.
I might say, though, that the 25-second rule is in effect. So he needs to... It didn't take much time once he got up there.
Good acceleration this time, and I think he liked that shot better than the opening.
And the player said that the right lane, lane 46, was hooking more than lane 45. Boy, what a year Tony had last year, $120,000.
Finds himself trailing by 11 sticks right off the bat. Needs to go to work quickly. Once again, light in the pocket and leaves the 2-8.
Tony's light on the hooking lane. What's he going to do on the tighter lane, lane 45? This is not an easy spare either. He thought the 7-pin was easy.
Well, if he throws that shot like this one, he'll end up in the right spot.
Has to hurry, and did. Tony's a solid player. Holds that ball low down like Marshall Holman does. Watch how steady his head is here. 5 steps, kind of shuffles that first step. Watch the backswing now, about shoulder high, then the nice long slide. Watch the follow through now. See it just whistle right on up. He does that shot after shot. It doesn't matter whether it's practice or pressure.
Tries to square up the shoulders, and look at this assortment on lane 45. Can you name these pins?
That is the 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. Hit the head pin and get 4.
Yeah, but you can make this, can't you?
Good luck.
Like winning the lottery, right?
He's got to hit the head. He's got to hit the 3 pin on the right. Hope it slides over into the 4-7, and he gets 7 out. You can make it, but believe me, there are easier spares. And there's his wife, Mary, and she's not too happy right now, as Tony has 30 in the third.
30 in the third. Kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see if Odom can jump all over the opportunity and double up here in the third.
He has to make some kind of an adjustment for that high hit in the first frame. Gives it right back, Denny. 4-10. He thought he made a good shot. He moved a little left, tried to throw it further right, but this lane's hooking very early for Curtis. Basically, what he's going to do with this, though, I think, is just shoot for the 9, get 9 out, and maintain some kind of a lead. That's what he did. So, opens for both of them in the third frame. We've had 6 frames between the two bowlers. We've had 3 open frames already.
I'm going to wait to put you on the spot. These players throughout the week averaged almost 220 on the championship round pair.
The lanes during the week hooked more than they are right now, and we basically they're supposed to be done the same. And I'm sure the PBA lane maintenance crew would have said they were done the same, but they've come out tighter. The guys have had to move further right and square up the shoulders, as you were talking about. They don't have the swing area to the right that they had during the week. See, he gave it the room on the lane 45 and wouldn't make it back. The same shot went high on 46.
So what you're saying is, rather than have that free arm swing where you can throw the ball a little right and be comfortable with it, now if you throw it right, it doesn't quite get back. If you set it a little short, it goes left.
Right, and that all goes right through your mind. And remember, bowling's such a mental game. There's still a spot, a board out there to hit, but it's smaller.
Well, Odom stands and watches to make sure that he takes out the 2-pin. He leads by 18. We'll be back with more from Riverside, California, after these messages. Town Square lanes. There you see the general manager on the right, Bill Martin, giving a marvelous trophy to Kathy Silvius, the winner of the Pro-Am. They had almost 900 adult entries and a terrific special Pro-Am and a nice junior Pro-Am as well.
I'm glad you had to pronounce that name. I was going to have trouble with it, I can see that.
Well, there's the classic over adjustment. Left of the head pin leaves the soft 5, and Tony Westlake right now is out there somewhere in the twilight zone.
Tony has such a marvelous attitude. I mean, I don't know if we could be slapping him up alongside of the head here to get him upset. He just kind of gives a wry smile. He's light last time. Make a board adjustment, and he goes, Brooklyn, what do I do?
All right, he's changed balls. Now he's in a better position, as he at least got it to the right side of the 5-pin.
Well, watch. This is our special camera mounted right on the gutter cap, down lane 46. We can see how close to the channel he was as the ball zooms by into, we hope, the 1-3 pocket, but then it was the 1-2.
I'm glad you explained that. I thought that was the luge there. I wasn't sure. This looks a little better. So for Tony Westlake, it's a key strike in the 5th because it's his first.
Well, you know, you would think that would be a logical move that he would make, is go to a duller ball that hooked more, but he was using the shiny one the first 3 frames, and suddenly, or the first 3.5 frames, and suddenly now, maybe he's found something.
Shiny ball looked good, reacted bad.
Right, yeah, it was nice and pretty, but no pins, huh? Curtis moved a little further left, and it doesn't make it. I mean, he went high, make an adjustment. And what flashes through a bowler's mind, Denny, when that happens is in neon signs on your forehead, it says, no area.
And then, of course, there's the danger of trying to be a little too perfect. You get a little tentative, and
the release doesn't happen just right.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Boy, the scores were enormous here this week. All right.
Curtis, very simple game. Holds the ball down, pushes it down as he steps. Watch how short that backswing is. It's maybe a foot past his hip. Head down, nice long slide. He comes up at the bottom to finish. Not your classic stylist, but he gets the job done.
Reminds me a little of Walter Ray at the finish. Gonna reload a little bit here, get a little more rosin.
Well, as Tommy Hudson used to say out here, they don't pay for looks. Out here, they pay for pins knocked down.
For results. Muscles it through one more time. I think he likes the left-hand lane a touch more than 46, and a strike in the sixth for Odom, who continues to lead here in game number 1.
Odom will finish on lane 45, too. This is a big shot for Tony Westlake right now. Is he going to hit it? Oh, came across but missed it. Got it in the 1-3, but couldn't carry, and his wife says,
Been married since, I think, June 10th, so she's just now started watching this professional play.
Watch the 6-pin, second from the right, Dad. Falls off, and the head pin comes around, and was just a little short with the message.
Yeah, I got confused. I know one thing. This ball is reacting much better than the first one.
But he's still down, what, 17 pins?
Been an up-and-down week for Tony Westlake. His high game of the week, 300. And on the low side?
Low side, 121. Reminds me of a tournament in 1973. I bowled in Chicago, where I bowled 300 on Wednesday night. Came back Thursday morning, bowled my low game of the PBA ever, 119.
That was my average in my junior league about 7th grade. Hooks up nicely and a solid strike. That really could have been a turkey for Westlake.
Could have been, but it isn't.
So Tony Westlake goes back to work. However, he trails by 17. Is time running out? We'll come back, and we'll find out. And gets a strike. He's happy about it. Not the case here.
Well, watch the reaction as the ball finishes hard into the 1-3 pocket. And look at Tony Westlake. Now, why is he acting like that? Well, I'm just trying to read his mind, but if it were me, I would be thinking, you idiot, why didn't you use this ball from the get-go?
Always changing. And plus, that would have been a turkey. He'd have been ahead in this match.
If he'd carried the tip in, yeah.
That's right. Odom shopping for a double and comes up with a solid 5-pin. It's the second time we've seen the runaway freight train.
I'm telling you, these
guys touched the head pin.
Just lost on lane 46. This ball's left. He moved back aboard right. He was light. And now watch his. What am I going to do, he says. Help. He's going to practice on this 5-pin. He's got to move in more. I think he needs to move his line in closer to the second arrow. You know, cut down that potential hook and go for a tighter line on 46.
Well, he played about the 8 board there and came near the head of the 5-pin.
Well, it was still high then. That would have been right through the heart of the pins. It's the 17-pin match right now. Go right down to the 10th frame because Tony is throwing the ball a lot better with this duller ball.
One thing we might mention is during that last commercial break, National Tournament Director Harry Golden had a slight chat with Curtis Odom and told him he's going to have to speed up play a little bit.
Right, and you notice he goes through this rigmarole, ritual, I should say, as he powders that thumb hole and wipes his sole and wipes off the ball and all these different things. But he's only got 25 seconds to do it.
Trying to get that pre-shot routine set. This time it works to perfection as he strikes in the 8th. And puts the pressure back on Westlake, who trails by 17.
You can see the ball goes just so much further down the lane here, over about the first arrow, out to about the second or third board before it makes its arc back. Back live with Tony on lane 46.
Good speed. Will it hold pocket? And it does. This is a comeback for Tony Westlake.
And his wife says, I like that better, Tony. Big shot, though, in the 9th frame. This is take the lead. First time in the match. And the way Odom is bowling on lane 46, I mean, this really puts the pressure on Odom if Tony Westlake can get this strike.
Possible 210 if he would strike out. It's a long way back from 30 in the 3rd.
Absolutely. Ooh, gave it a lot of room. 10-pin. Just didn't go through that one the same way he had the previous 2. Just just looked at me like his follow-through just stopped a little short. And we watched that 6-pin wrap right around the 10th. He's still in this match, though. He thought he threw it good, that's for sure.
They might have been trying to do something a little different with that shot, too, Mike.
No, he'd been hitting that lane. He just wanted to throw it right where he did. Just see if we can see anything. You look at it, Dan. See what you think. Just
You thought he cut it off a little short.
Just a little short, yeah, I thought. See, he came up just a little. Normally, he whistles that thing right past his ear with his follow-through, and that one he didn't.
All right. Odom now in the 9th on a strike. A little better projection. Oh, and he's going to trip out the 4, and that's the shot of the week thus far for Mr. Odom.
Oh, big break right there. He made a good adjustment to get the ball in the 1-3, but it looked like the 4-pin was going to stand, and the 2-pin spun around. I think it was the 2. Let's look at it. Third from the left as the ball hooks into the 1-3, and it does in the head of the 2-pin, spun around and got that 4 after it hit the 7. Boosts his lead back up to 18 pins. Means that basically all he needs is a mark in the 10th frame to shut out Tony Westlake. All room. And that's it. He's going to be a winner.
Gotta like that shot. Gave it plenty of room and trusted it. And for the first time in his 3rd appearance, Curtis Odom actually comes up a winner on national television.
And he was in that position against Mike Albee earlier in the winter, and he left the baby split. Albee doubled in the 10th and beat him out for the title at the Showboat Atlantic City.
Yeah, he was top seed there. Boy, that's tough to work that hard for all those games, get to the top spot and miss a spare or two and cost yourself a title.
In the 10th frame.
Sure. So Odom will advance. Smile there for Curtis, who breathes a sigh of relief.
10-pin in the 9th frame, the big shot for Tony Westlake. He would have still had a chance if he'd have carried that.
Threw a decent shot and left that little soft 10 in the 6th. If not, he might have gone off the sheet. So for Tony Westlake, he now goes to 7 and 8 on national television. Ends up in the number 5 slot. Earns $5,000. It's been a solid year for Tony, but he just hasn't been able to get to the title game and do any damage.
Yeah, what, 16 cashes so far this year in 21 tournaments. He's bowling well, but you got to win to make the big bucks.
So game number 1 has come to a screeching halt. 206 for Curtis Odom and 163 for Tony Westlake. Average Builders, Mike's Average Builders coming up next, and it's time to check out those backswings when we return.
A couple of weeks ago, we all watched Pete Weber win the Dublin PBA Open. And one of the most distinctive marks about Pete Weber's style is his tremendously high backswing. I think we all marvel as we watch him bring that backswing up over his head and somehow make it all come out right at the bottom of the swing. On tonight's telecast, we have a variety of different backswings. In the first match, we watched Curtis Odom, who has almost no backswing. When we watched him, his backswing just barely gets past his hip. But Curtis is extremely accurate, and that's usually true of people who have very, very short backswings. They don't rely on power, they generally rely on accuracy. In our upcoming match, we're going to see a newcomer to our ESPN telecast, Bryan Goebel. Bryan is a power player, and he has a high backswing. Not quite as high as Pete Weber's, but it does get up over his head. And usually, but not always, people with high backswings have more power and not as much accuracy, so we'll see how that high backswing holds up under the pressure of tonight's telecast. The backswing, though, that I want you to watch tonight belongs to our tournament leader, David Ozio. David is a stylist, maybe the premier stylist on today's tour. And when he brings that backswing back, it comes right up to textbook shoulder-high level. That's what we recommend, shoulder-high level. He does that shot after shot after shot, and he does it very smoothly. What do most of us do? What most of us do is we bring that backswing back, and maybe we get it to shoulder-high level. And by the way, anywhere in here is generally acceptable in about a 6-inch range here. When we get it back to this level, then we reach up for more power. And the backswing goes up 3 or 4 inches, and what happens? The timing gets late, and accuracy suffers. On the other hand, many of us get back here with the backswing at shoulder high, and we become very anxious, and we want to get power, and we pull it down. And again, we usually have problems because of that. Well, if those two things are wrong, what do I think of to do it right? Well, the thing that I recommend is that when we get to the top of the backswing right here, that I think of leaving it alone. Let gravity pull that weight down. Now I'm going to pick up this ball. I'm going to take it back in the backswing, and I'm going to try and hold it here as long as I can. And I'm not going to be able to hold it there very long because gravity's going to want to pull this 16-pound weight down. Watch. Here I go. And that's as long as I can hold it there. And I'm reasonably strong, not too strong. But gravity wants to pull it down. The point is that we should let gravity have its way. Let it just pull it right on down into the downswing. Now, maybe you've got not that problem, but you've got the problem of a high backswing. You want to learn how to correct it. Here's a little tip that might help you. Put a little lock on your chin. Well, why do I put a lock on my chin? Well, when I bring that backswing back right here, if I've got a lock on my chin, my arm simply won't go any higher than it is right now. In order to get it higher, I've got to bring my head and shoulders down. So if you've got too high a backswing, just think of the lock on that chin. Well, how does all this work out, all this theory work out in practice? Well, let's see. Now, I might point out that you'll notice that my backswing doesn't quite get to shoulder high level. I never have been able to get it that high, but it's within, I think, the acceptable range. And what I'm thinking of right now is when I get to the peak of that backswing, to leave it alone. Remember, concentrate on leaving that backswing alone at the peak of the swing. And if you've got too high a backswing, put a little lock on that chin. We'll see you again next week when we'll have another average builder for you.
And let's now review some of the numbers posted this week by the professionals here in Riverside.
And last week we had the left-handers out averaging the right-handers. This week it's the other way around by 11 pins.
She was on the other foot, right?
Yeah, as we mentioned, averaged cash 212 to make the top 24, 220. Size of the field 160. High 3-game series 785. Qualifying leader, let's see, that's 612 over, isn't it?
That's right. The 785 was Dave Ferraro's, by the way. He had an outstanding week. And oh, my goodness, look at the numbers. Mark Williams shoots 300, the 18th game to miss the finals by a single stick.
And he thought he had tied, but there was a one-pin mistake in Gip Lentine's score to Gip Lentine's favor.
And Pete Weber with a 290. Curtis Odom moves along. Bryan Goebel making his first ever appearance in the national spotlight from Merriam, Kansas, when we return. Really grabs control, average 247 in round number 4 to grab the top slot.
Said his game came together in the finals. He had 3 good blocks in the final. Boy, he really took charge. Once he got in front, he ran off and hid.
Look at Curtis, 67th, 28th, 17th. It's been an uphill battle all the way for him.
Goebel got to first at the end of the qualifying round, was around the top all the way through, wound up third.
And then fought for his life last night just to qualify for the telecast. And he makes his first ever appearance. On your left, Bryan Goebel. And Curtis Odom, who is already now disposed of Tony Westlake, 206 to 163, heads back to work here in Riverside.
And Goebel did a very intelligent thing before he ever threw a shot. He's making Curtis finish on the right lane where he had so much trouble the first game. I mean, these lanes are tough enough as it is right now without throwing in bad breaks like this. If we get a replay of this, I think you'll probably see the head pin go in front of the 7-pin and the 5-pin go behind it. So we're going to get a look. Watch both the head pin and the 5 if you can. And they both went in front of the 7-pin.
Bad luck. 9 out is the tally, and the swishing 7-10, as it's so aptly referred to on the national tour, was left on a number of occasions this week playing that wide angle.
I watched Marshall Holman leave a number of them last night.
Yeah, he killed himself last night with those early on. Marshall was in an excellent position to make the telecast.
See how far he gets that ball out of the lane. Bad break. Got that much power coming in late. Usually you carry. Pretty good shot, though, for your first shot on national television.
6 feet, 165 pounds. Played lots of basketball and baseball in high school at Kansas University.
How fast do you suppose that heart's beating underneath there? He looks calm outside, but I'll bet you underneath it's like the old duck on the water.
And he said, without question, this is a dream come true for me. I've worked long and hard And now he'll relax just a little bit after that opening spare.
As we're going to get a look at his style here. 6 steps. Doesn't move the ball yet. It's almost a 4-step delivery from here, Dan. Now watch the height of the backswing. As he leans forward, it gets almost as high as Pete Weber's, and then the loft. See how far out? What did that go, 10, 12 feet out on the lane?
Well, that's at the arrows. That's 15 feet, right?
The arrows are 15 feet?
Sure. That baby does not touch earth until it gets to the arrows.
Proprietors hate to see deliveries like that.
Kind of take the heads out of play when you're giving it that shot. A little delay roll. It comes back, and problem.
And the 210. He has times when he just doesn't get the thumb out of the ball clean. And when that happens, it nicks that thumb hole and doesn't roll up.
I asked him about the loft. I said, Brian, has that always been a part of your game? And he said, in the early stages, yes. He said, but last year or so when I was bowling on the tour last winter, I tried to set it down a little bit because of the urethane balls. I went 11 weeks, did not get a check, went back home before the spring tour, started lofting it, and he's made 4 checks in a row.
So he says, the heck with the smooth delivery.
Well,
again, they don't pay for how you look, they pay for results. But Curtis is back in the match. In fact, he's ahead by 2 pins. Oh, he says nothing to this right lane. I figured it out now.
As he walks away, though, takes a good long look, trying to burn into his memory where he stood, where he threw that ball, the kind of reaction he got.
And I find it interesting here. We have almost the old versus the new, not in ages here, but in styles. We've got Curtis Odom relying on accuracy and roll, and Bryan Goebel relying on power and being able to loft and swing that ball, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Curtis trying to double in the third. Oh, my goodness. He would make Pete Titus proud by tripping out that 4.
Well, he got it high enough. He tripped that 4 in the 9th frame, too, remember. And again, this ball hooked just a little early because of softer speed. But watch the 2-pin. 3rd from the left gets both the 4 and the 7, and the 6 got the 10. By Brooklyn. Carries the Brooklyn.
Well, he did not throw that ball near as far to the right on the right-hand lane that trip as he did the last time. That's 5 boards left. Now, maybe he's making that adjustment. I don't know.
No, he's not making that adjustment, but he got the strike this time. You can see that the ball is going between the 2nd and 3rd arrows there, and he wants to get it, like you say, probably 3-4 boards further right.
That's giving him the, I don't know.
Point is, if he doubles here, he cuts it to 2 pins.
That's right.
Well, he gave that more room. And left the 10 pin. Boy, was that an unusual reaction.
Do you leave more 10 pins because you come in behind the head pin, Mike, as you take a look at his wife, Kelly?
Yes, I believe you do. Although, when you've got that much power, a lot of times you knock him out of there.
Might mention that Kelly is a computer programmer for AT&T.
Watch on his spare shots. He throws them much straighter and doesn't get it nearly as far on the lane.
All right, so Goebel with a spare in the 4th finds himself trailing by a dozen to that man, Curtis Odom of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Hello, I'm Don Shelby. Will there soon be changes in the 911 emergency response system in St. Paul? Tonight, Mayor George Latimer meets with the fire department to discuss improvements recommended by an outside consultant.
The leader list this week, 21,000 for first.
And it looks pretty good to those 5 players out there. 4 left right now. 12 for second. 75. What was it, 6 and 5, the last 2?
Tony Westlake has already taken the $5,000.
Said that wasn't enough, but I'll take it.
Heading to Tucson, Arizona. Meanwhile, Curtis Odom still hard at work on the double. Would love to make it 3 with this shot, and he leaves the 2, and I think he's probably thankful that that's all that's standing.
And it's amazing. They get it. It appears to be a board in, actually left, and the ball skids further and never doesn't go into a good enough roll to get back. What the players call the overreaction.
Pose a question to you. Does either player, I probably would rather preface this towards Curtis because I think he uses more equipment. Might he throw one ball on one lane and another ball on the other?
It was definitely an option that you'd be thinking about. At least I would be thinking about, because the big difference between the reaction on both lanes. problems you run into there are feel. You can get both balls to feel the same. Solid 9-pin. The ball's hooking earlier on lane 45 each shot. He's got to keep his speed up on that lane, or he's going to go higher yet.
I think this is what makes the PBA Tour what it is. And I think for all the viewers at home, this is no different than the majority of the pairs of lanes that they bowl on all week long. The lanes are never quite the same. Your little nuances. There's always something a little different. Here we have a little more of an exaggeration, but the pros are constantly adjusting with speed and loft and equipment to try and hit that pocket on a consistent basis.
And I think the big difference between today's contemporary player and the player of yesterday, so to speak, is the yesterday player used to do it with hand releases and speed and loft. The player today is more geared to switching bowling balls. I mean, if a bowling ball doesn't work, give me another one.
It's interesting you say that, because I talked to Bryan about that. He used 2 balls the entire week.
Tremendous loft, and it held barely. All that tells me, though, Dan, they only used 2 balls, is that he had a great shot, he had a great reaction morning and night all week long. He didn't need to change. Now watch how far this ball goes out on the lane. I mean, that's out there ways. Out to about the 7th board, and that just barely hung on to strike, Dan. One more revolution, and that's 6. 10 pins the difference. He can even the match if he can strike on the lane he chose to finish on.
Thumb pops out, ball comes up to the pocket and ends up a little shy, the 2-8. And there you talk about that release and the thumb not out clean.
Right. You can see that right away. And the ball just never made the turn left. It actually quit at the back end. He's fortunate he got the 10 pin out. He hasn't got an easy spare here. It'll be interesting to see if he hooks the ball at the spare or throws it straight in. Took very little time. He's hooking it at it. And he made it. Very nice cover. They're exciting, these hook ball bowlers, I'll tell you.
Oh, you had your doubts there for a moment, didn't you?
Well, that ball almost rolled out at the end, too. It kind of quit at the end to hang on to make that 2-8.
Yeah. All right. Pressure swings back the other way for Curtis Odom, who leads by 10, now in the 6th. More direct, sets up, chips the 4 one more time as he turns away in near disbelief.
He's got that shot down bad. I don't know why he's upset.
See him checking the man upstairs?
Well, we've seen this like an instant replay that we've seen before. As the 2-pin goes to the wall, gets the 4-7, and I don't know whether that's the 6 or the 3 getting that 10, but it's some pin.
No problem. And I mentioned Pete Tanis before. Of course, he's the general manager of Golden Pin Lanes, and they'll be hosting the Miller Lite Challenge next week in Tucson. And just this past year, he was inducted into the APC Hall of Fame for tripping all those 4 pins. This one high again. He trips the 4, and Curtis is on a roll right now. A double in the 6th and the 7th. He now takes a commanding 20-pin lead. And you know what? He feels pretty fortunate this stage that the 4-pin continues to fall. We'll be back with more of game number 2 right after this. Michael and I are stationed this week at Active West Town Square Lane. 6th year that the Kessler Classic has been held here.
Beautiful center, 60-lane center.
I think I need a haircut. What about you?
Yes, definitely. You're right.
All right, back to live action now as Bryan Goebel trails by 20. There's no time like the present to get started.
Actually, he's had his best success on this lane.
I always look for a player, how he reacts to that timeout, and whether he can come back out and throw a key shot. He struck there when he had to.
Well, he hasn't been able to strike for the double. I mean, he's had 3 opportunities, or 2 opportunities already. This is his 3rd chance to double up, and he must do it now to cut the end of that 20-pin deficit.
All right, if memory serves me correctly, he left the 2-8 the last trip on lane 45.
And again, it was not a clean hand release. A little better release that time. And there's the result. See, with him, you hear that pop too, but that pop that time with that ball hanging on his fingers, he gets tremendous lift on the ball when he gets out of it clean. Now watch him here. As the thumb comes out now, and he lifts straight up the back of that ball, but just with heavy, heavy fingers. And that's his best shot of the match, really, right there. Has to hurry, and does.
Well, Curtis said, I've had enough of tripping the 4. Let's get this a little wider this time, see if we can't rip the rack. Key shot there for him in the 8th frame. It's a turkey. He continues to lead by 20, and if he strikes out, could shoot 247.
And how many solid strikes have we seen Curtis get? Hardly any. He's either had the light ones or the trip 4s, or he's making full use of that pocket.
Are you saying he's living on the razor's edge?
No, usually when you're getting those kind of hits, you do very well. If you don't get those hits, you don't make much money.
Back and head for Tucson. One more time. Better speed. He liked it the moment it left his hand. And some clutch bowling right now for Mr. Odom.
Takes that lead back up to 30 pins. Was 20, got knocked down to 10, and he struck twice. This is his best shot of the match in the 9th frame of the 2nd game. So he sends it out to about the 2nd or 3rd board, and it roars back just dead flush. So he shows his reaction. Back to live action.
Goebel in the 9th trying to stay alive and decides to try the Brooklyn side. It doesn't work, and the door is starting to close on Bryan Goebel.
Well, that's almost closed entirely right now. Dan, the best he can get now, if he picks this up and strikes out, is 205. Curtis going at a 220 clip, he'd have to throw one in the channel or something to lose. And that definitely nails the coffin shut.
Kelly reacting to that shot. I tell you what, regardless of what happens here, though, those two young people have had a marvelous week. It's been an exciting week for them. First time ever on national television, and I think should prove the impetus for him to continue to bowl well on the national tour.
Well, you know, he said the only reason that he kept his PBA membership was because of the PBA regional program. He bowled in the regions and did very well, and that gave him the confidence to come back out here and try it on the national tour. And he said, hey, so many times it's that confidence factor that so many people have talent, but to get that talent out takes that belief in yourself.
Well, last night during the position round, during the final 4 or 5 games when Bryan was fighting for the show and finally made it, he said, I came into the press room and I was beside myself. I'm here bowling against Marshall Holman and the great players that I've watched through the years, Pete Weber and these kind of people. And he said, I was just thrilled to be involved with them. And $6,000, his largest ever professional check on the PBA National Tour. And it's been a solid week for him and a week that I think he'll be able to build on.
I can remember feeling that way. Some of those guys, but then you learn, hey, you can beat them. I mean, they miss spares. They don't strike every time. They leave 10 pins. You can beat them.
Another proponent of the PBA regional program right there, Curtis Odom. He has bowled extremely well. I think he has 5 or 6 regional titles and a lot of experience on the regional tour.
And he says, I didn't carry. Of course, he didn't need it. Picks this up and strikes. He'll finish with 226. He's getting better every game.
Cross-line. These are the gravy shots, aren't they? You've already got the game won. You can relax a little bit.
They are, but you're going to face another tough opponent. He's got Tom Kreitz coming up, and he knows that Tom's a tough player, PBA national champion. So, but Curtis is showing why he made all that money in the regional program. He's on a roll right now. He's got it going. He seems to have both lanes figured out.
Well, it's taken him 2 games, but he's starting to zero in right now as he wins 226 to 183 here in game number 2. Professional bowling, like many sports, is preceded by a pro-am, which usually includes top-name athletes and major corporate sponsors. But this week, the Kessler Classic had something very special indeed. When we come back, we'll take a look.
Tournament leader this week, David Ozio. David, myself and many others out here consider you maybe the premier stylist on the PBA Tour right now. What I want to know is, how did you develop that seemingly flawless style?
Well, probably 10 years ago, a pro, which at the time was lived in Beaumont, Jimmy Wright, got me down on the lanes and said, I'm going to teach you how to stroke the ball. He says, I want you to be as fluid as possible. And he said, just look as pretty as you can going to the foul line. And I was raised doing that, trying to, be photogenic at the foul line, and it just developed into this. Over the years, working so hard on it, just trained my muscles to do that, and that's the way it's always been.
So you owe a lot of your success to Jimmy Wright.
Yeah, I sure was. He was a really nice guy at the time. He took me off to the side and really thought I had a lot of talent and thought I could do well on the tour and put a lot of time in, with me, and look what happened.
David, I know you because I've talked with you. We've studied together over a lot of years, but not everyone out there knows you. I consider you, and many consider you, a perfectionist. Do you think that you're a perfectionist?
My wife's probably busting up laughing right now. Yes, I am. I'm the type of person that's sitting at a table, if the forks and knives aren't aligned, I will align them. That type of person, and it carries over into my game. I'm never satisfied. I want the best David Ozio can do. And when a lot of guys out here think I'm at the top of my game, I still feel there's bugs to be ironed out, and I probably will go to my grave thinking the same thing. There'll always be a bug to be ironed out to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to strive to be that.
Do you think that helps or hurts your bowling?
Well, mixed emotions out here. A lot of guys says it hurts. I think it helps. If I don't try to be the best that I can, then I'm settling for second best, and I'm not going to settle for second best.
You talked about your wife, Lisa. I gather that she's back in Texas right now.
Lovely wife, 2 beautiful kids. I tell you, I'm just the most blessed person in the world to have a family like this, and I'm thankful every day to God I have them.
David, this year really has been kind of a so-so year for you. You've made some top 24 finishes. You cash pretty regularly. All of a sudden, this week, you lead the tournament. What happened this week to have this success?
I tell you the truth, it started back around Akron and Firestone. I went to several coaches in the nation, John Jowdy being the premier coach. There's a good friend of mine, Cliff Tarpley, in Bloomington, Illinois, I went to, and he helped me out a lot. And Smitty in San Diego helped me out a lot. So these guys out here really look out for you, and they want you to make the best of your talent. And I tell you what, if a guy out here is not doing well, and if he doesn't seek out that kind of help, then he's wasting his time.
You've been touring about 10 years. You're 35 years old now. How much longer are you going to continue to bowl?
Oh, God only knows. Who knows? 5, 10 years maybe, You're only as young as you feel, and I feel pretty young right now, so although my hair don't show it. But maybe in the future, get into a big bowling center, a big business. I've always liked being on the business side of the game, and maybe that's what I'll drift into.
Young enough to win one more game tonight?
Sure am. I'm young enough.
Okay, he thinks that he's young enough to win one more game. We're going to find out, but in our next match, we're going to see 2 Southern boys go at it as Curtis Odom takes on Tom Kreitz.
Cheering for Tom Kreitz and Curtis Odom because there are only 3 players left in this championship.
And like I say, these 2 boys are both from the South.
That's right. They've faced each other probably on numerous occasions in the PBA Southern region. Odom right out of the gate, trips the 4 and serves notice to Mr. Kreitz that he's ready here in the semifinal.
And again, just a hair soft with that speed after the break between the games and everything. Tom Kreitz, a very smooth 4-step bowler, sets the ball down right at the foul line. Seems to be able to play all angles. Got that one off his hand too quick. He just kind of get it off, let it go.
Well, for him, he got up there pretty quickly and went through that shot. He's a very deliberate player.
Well, he didn't do too well in his practice shots here. He's confused like many of the players have been on the right lane tonight. I talked to Ozio in between, and he was saying that the right lane is definitely a lot different than when they practice on it. It's hooking much earlier now.
Double bounce with the shortstop, picks up the 6th pin.
Tom almost with a flawless style. Stands there perfectly erect, pushes and steps at the same time. Ball's down on the 2nd step, back on the 3rd at the peak of the backswing here now. Cups that wrist right there, you can see. There's his power. Long slide. High follow through.
1985 PBA Rookie of the Year. Won his first major championship in '86. The PBA National Championship in Toledo. Got a really nice rhythm to his game once he gets in the stroke. You talked about that gravity of the backswing. His ball comes down pretty natural, don't you think?
He has a pretty free swing.
Yeah, he really does.
It's just a little high and a little muscled at the top. But, all of us do it to a certain degree. It's just on a scale of 1 to 10. What is it?
Odom hoping to double here to start the semifinal game. David Ozio warming up in the wings for the title match.
Right there. He's found a shot on this lane 46 now. No one else has been able to find it.
Well, he came up only a shot short. in winning his first PBA title this past winter, and maybe he's thinking about that right now.
He asked for a re-rack over on lane 45. He's getting it.
Players allowed 2 re-racks in each championship round game.
And that's the first one we've had tonight, I think. See, that check left of the third frame with Odom indicates his first re-rack. And again, he has 2 coming. So he only has 1 more this game. Better speed. And that trip 4. I'd like to know how many 4-pins he's tripped tonight. I bet it's 7 or 8.
Curtis keeps looking up at the clouds in disbelief, but if you look at the scoreboard, it says strike, strike, strike.
And he's put some pressure on Tom Kreitz right now. He says, hey, I've got a strike, or this guy's going to run off and leave me.
Oh, better speed, better projection, right through the nose for the big 4.
And he gives it the little okay circle. He realized he made a better shot than he did the time before, and he gets a horrible result as he sends this thing out almost to the first board, and it comes roaring back. Just needs more speed, or he's got to move further left with his feet.
Well, that ball looked like it was at about the 5 board at 50 feet and still ended up high. Has to be happy with 8 out. And there is his mom up from Tampa.
Well, no one's happy over that in the Kreitz family.
Down by 34
after only 3 frames.
Westlake's familiar with that position.
He never did catch up either.
Opening game, Westlake rather was defeated by Curtis Odom, 206 to 163. Then Odom took on Bryan Goebel and knocked him off 226 to 183. We're in game number 3 now.
No trouble with the lane 45. 46 is the one to figure out.
Well, Kreitz continues to ponder. And for Curtis Odom, is he thinking about the championship game or the semifinal? He's the only one that knows. We'll be right back. Tour heads to Tucson, Arizona for the $140,000 Miller Lite Challenge. Defending champion Pete McCordick had a marvelous championship round there last year. The key ingredient right there for you on the East Coast, do us a favor, take a nap in the afternoon. That one starts midnight, live Eastern time, only on ESPN.
No, but our bowling fans will be there to watch that.
Right. Good speed, good reaction, a 4-bagger for Mr. Odom, who continues to fight it out here on the championship round pair.
And Tom Kreitz changes chairs. Right over about that 9th board. He's found a nice reaction there, just getting solid in that 1-3 pocket. He knows it's right there as soon as he left. Kreitz with his head down in the back. As soon as he struck, Kreitz is about to get up and change chairs right there. He says, I don't want to look at this anymore. Flirting with that and flirting with that and flirting with that. He's going to have to make a move on that left lane, Denny, too, because it's starting to do the exact same thing that the right lane did earlier.
Leaves the 3-6-10, and you're not too far from leaving the 4-9. Now, you're tripping the 4 right now, but sooner or later that 4-9 is going to jump up and grab you.
I always learned, you know, that when you're high like that, that 4-pin has bad combinations with it, like 6 and 10 and things like that.
And 9. Yeah, you're right. Hooks it at the spare. Saving the wood does Mr. Odom as he licks his chops after converting the 3-6-10.
I thought he was going to take the 6-pin out of the middle.
Tom Kreitz was hoping he did, but a spare up and he leads by 41.
Trying for more speed. I don't know whether he moved left with his speed or not. See that little sportsmanship gesture there by Curtis Odom? He came back, gave Tom Kreitz a little love tap on the fanny there.
Well, appreciative of the adjustment that Kreitz is making. The professionals know when a guy is making a big change, obviously. Strike here gets him back into the match.
Yeah, right. And this is the lane he's been hitting.
Gotta keep the speed up. Oh, dandy of a shot. So Mom applauds the effort, and Kreitz comes crawling back.
Boy, he stroked that ball pretty, didn't he? Just flew it all the way through. I just really love that shot. Just free, Oh, the follow through went to the right there. Did you see that? Curtis forcing it down there. Forcing it just right.
Yeah, it's amazing his shot. There is very little arm swing. Doesn't even drop the ball down. So he just kind of starts with it there and takes off.
And he's asked for his last re-rack. It's interesting, the psychology of that, Dan. You know, people think, well, why is he doing it here in the 7th frame? Well, let's save it to the 10th. What he's thinking right now is that this is suddenly a 20-pin match. And he's got a strike going. He wants the double right now.
Keep the pressure on.
I personally think he should move a board left off that last shot, that 3-6-10. We can't see his feet from here to see whether he did that or not. Sure looked like he did.
Well, that's as professional as you can get as he answers with a double of his own. Odom right now is just throwing strikes one after another. He leads by 31. We'll be back with the conclusion of the semifinal game from Riverside right after this. Fan Ab Brown, the mayor of Riverside.
I'm sure he's enjoying himself tonight.
Said he has watched your average builder every week and has worked his average from 147 to about 160 at this point.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, just goes to show you that those average builders work. Now, will Kreitz continue to build his average?
Right, he needs to right now. If he doesn't keep striking, he's in big trouble. A lot of room. Oh, is that a pretty shot?
A lot of room. He was flirting with the channel, Michael.
Well, you remember when he won in Seattle last summer, he did the exact same thing. He has that ability to float it out there, and we could see from our RoboCam that it almost tilted over the edge and came back. It's still pretty far out as it goes by the camera. Watch the 6-pin get that 10. This cuts it to 11 with one more here.
I want to point out that the RoboCam is, what, about 50 feet down the lane?
Yes. I don't know if Tom is waiting for a re-rack. He is waiting for a re-rack. And they just were a little tardy in getting it for him.
There you see the score, down by 21. But as Mike so aptly stated, if he strikes here, it's down by 11 with 2 frames to go.
Each other, I'll tell you what. It doesn't get much better in this, Dan. I mean, this is not an easy condition right now. These guys have made their adjustments, and they're making the pressure shots when the heat's on. Curtis has answered every challenge. Will he do it now in the 8th frame? Boy, oh, is that pretty. I'll tell you, that little short backswing, and he just shoves it right through there, and it just hitting that target. It's splicing that target every time.
One shot after another. At the 1-3, he strikes in the 8th. He now has a 3-bagger.
Ironically, though, if he doesn't strike here, Tom Kreitz can strike out for 256, and if he would happen to get 8 on this ball, he could get shut out if he doesn't strike here.
If he continues to strike, he shoots 277.
Correct. A lot of room. And there's the 8. He's got to make this, and even if he makes it, the game is in Tom Kreitz's hands right now.
That is almost unbelievable. As good a game as he has bowled, you're telling me that Kreitz still has a shot to beat him?
In fact, he can lock him out.
Sure he can.
If he strikes out for 256, he can shut him out.
And you know what? Kreitz knows that right now.
He can keep score, as most of these bowlers are. Can. Ooh, has to hurry, has to hurry. Ooh, it did.
Would you relax a little bit? He had plenty of room there.
Sure he did.
All right, now, scenario set. Kreitz, if he strikes out, is a winner.
Well, the big one, he's still down 19. This one gets it with under 10 pins right here. Send it way out there. Oh, they came roaring back.
Gorgeous shot. What a dandy of a shot there in the 9th for Kreitz, who now is working on a 6-bagger.
And again, Kreitz has a potential final score of 256. Odom, 255. A tie is obviously in the realm of possibility. Well, that's left. And in held.
Oh, he had to be surprised there. That ball was left the target, wasn't
It
it?
sure looked like it. I don't even think he knew it was the 10th frame.
He just sat down, so obviously he does it. Now he scans the board.
I mean, he's been getting out to about the 3rd or 4th board. That looked like the 5th or 6th. And the ball just sailed down the lane. He says, yes.
Well, Kreitz defeated Odom in match play this week, 248 to 203. He's trying to come from behind. This is the shot of the night.
More room, a lot more room. Knocked him out of there. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. He must strike here to shut him out.
Boy, oh boy, spare strike open with a 4, 6, 7, 10, and then off the sheet the possibility for 256.
8 in a row he's worked, but he needs 9 to shut the man out.
Kreitz comes out of the dugout to tip the cap as he comes out of nowhere to win the match.
We're going to see his final shot here. Watch the head pin. It's going to get the 9, I think. The head pin goes to the wall, comes back and gets the solid 9. Poor Curtis Odom sitting there. He could shoot 255 and lose this game. He was head the whole match. He gets 2 spares and 10 strikes possible, and he's going to lose.
And he struck with his first shot in the 10th, but it's all for naught if he strikes out 255, and he's going to remember this match a long, long time. Brilliant bowling by both players. Leaves the solid 7, and Curtis says, hey, I got bit by the snake last frame. I'm happy with 3rd place. It's not where I wanted to be, but boy, did he put on a performance here this evening.
He just didn't lose. He got beat. I mean, Tom Kreitz was unbelievable.
So Odom has to bow out with 245, and that man in black right there, 256 to 245. Kreitz the winner. Coming up next, before we get to the title match, our weekly edition of the Bowling News. We'll be back with more from Riverside right after this.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Bowling News, brought to you by Pizza Hut, home of pan pizza that's winning the hearts of America. It took nearly 20 years for a PBA player to win $100,000 in a single season, but already here in 1989, we have 3 PBA professionals that have surpassed the $100,000 barrier, and if they continue to win money at the pace they are right now, we might have as many as a dozen $100,000 winners before 1989 is all said and done. Mike Albee failed to cash this week, but still holds a commanding lead with earnings in excess of $280,000. Del Ballard Jr. is still trying harder, while Pete Weber, courtesy of a 7th place finish, is still number 3. Last week's champ, Jess Stayrook, along with Brian Voss, round out the top 5. Heading up the second 5, Randy Peterson of Santa Maria, California, and Bledo Monticelli, who finished just 1 pin shy of the championship round this week, is currently 7th. Walter Ray Williams Jr., Dave Ferraro, a finalist this week, and Bob Benoit round out the top 10. Pete Weber has now increased his lead in the chase for his first ever George Young Memorial High Average Award. Pete raised his numbers once again here in Riverside this week, averaging better than 223 for 42 games in this year's Kessler's Classic. Mike Albee, Jess Stayrook, Del Ballard Jr., and Parker Boone III make up the rest of the top 5 there. Now, the key to success on the PBA National Tour is how you fare in the championship round. It's a very important statistic. We'll take a look at some numbers now concerning the players and how they stack up here in 1989 and how well they've done in front of national television audiences. Once again, the Tour's leading money winner, Mike Albee, has qualified a half dozen times. Meanwhile, Pete Weber, who just missed this week, along with Amleto Monticelli, Del Ballard Jr., Parker Bone III, and Jess Stayrook, they're all tied for second right now with a handful of occasions. And, of course, who are the most proficient players in televised match play? Leading the way so far, it's 19-time PBA champion Mike Albee with 9 wins in 11 tries. Randy Peterson, Ernie Schlegel, and Charlie Tapp are all undefeated so far here during the 1989 season. And considering the fact we're out here in sunny Riverside, California, now might be an opportune time to take a look at the results, the latest results from the PBA's Western region, run by PBA Hall of Famer Ted Hoffman. In Palo Alto, Phil Kapsamalis and Craig Rourke teamed up to win the doubles championship. Meanwhile, in Pomona, it was Peter Scahill of Burbank, California. He came up a winner. Kapsamalis again winning his second regional in a short amount of time. In Concord, California, and Merced, Jiminy Christmas, Dennis Ram with 2 victories. He was a finalist last week in Seattle. And, of course, the doubles in Mountain Valley, it was Murda Shaw and Sargent winning there. Each and every month, the Bowling Writers Association of America selects a Bowler of the Month. And for his outstanding performance at the Showboat in Las Vegas, the June Bowler of the Month is Senior Jimmy Certain. It was his first ever appearance on the PBA Senior Tour, and he came up a winner. It was his first PBA Singles Championship as well. Jess Stayrook, who won last week, finished second in the voting. Pete Weber, number 3. And it was very close as well, numbers 4 and 5, Mike Albee, and also Steve Cook. Without question, bowling is a sport for all ages, and some of the top senior players from all over the country tested their skills in this year's ABC National Seniors Championships, which were held in Wichita, Kansas. Some great performances. Here's now a look at some medal-winning performances. And that's a look at bowling news this week, brought to you by Pizza Hut. Back with more after this.
The new Pizza Hut Pepperoni Lovers Pizza.
Finishers this week, Amleto Monticelli narrowly missing by a single pin.
Amazing. He got 6 on his second ball in the 10th frame and then 8 out to miss by a pin.
Pete Weber doubles in the 10th frame. He's on the telecast.
Right. Dave Ferraro had his chance going into the last game. Ray Perez, a good week for him. Del Warren finishing 10th. Brian Alpert in the finals. Has been doing too well. Nice to see him bowling well again. Ron Palumbi Jr. there. Marshall Holman, steady as always. Colorful and joking Randy Peterson. Jack Jurek, number 15 this week, $2,100. Bruce Hamilton, that's a new name to me. Ron Williams with his unusual arm swing. Wayne Webb, seems like he's been around forever, doesn't it? Philip Ringener having an excellent summer. Biff Borowitz, there's another new name. David Traber, another one that gets the ball well out on the lane. Giplin Team from Southern California. Roger Haskell in the finals again. And unusual place for Mark Baker in 24th.
Well, Bakes has had a pretty good year overall. He gets to the finals and just can't seem to get to the telecast. Finished 6th, 2 weeks ago? But he'll iron things out, bowling in his native Southern California this week.
I have confidence in him.
Well, I think sooner or later he'll do all right. An interesting tournament here last year for Sam Macarone. Bowled extremely well, ended up winning 4 different matches. And, of course, the key shot for him against Walter Ray Williams Jr. came late in the match as he won 237 to 225. Time now to take a look back at Sam Macarone and how he performed here at Active West Lanes in Riverside, California.
You can see he's definitely into the match as you look at his eyes and the concentration. Another one gets it well out on the lane, comes in light and carries that light mixer. The big shot for him. I think he waited a long time for that tournament victory, and he showed how happy he was with it.
Boy, I remember that as being a solid strike in the 1-3. That was a little bit of a shaker.
Hey, that's a solid strike in the 1-3, Denny. I'll tell you, those light hits are a greater percentage strike than the solid ones, I think.
All right, now time to preview perhaps the championship match now. Tom Kreitz and David Ozio. Kreitz coming off a brilliant performance, finished with 9 in a row to shoot the big 250 game.
Well, as we were chatting before, I told you I don't think Ozio has a chance. I mean, and you said you thought he did.
Oh, yeah, I think he does.
Obviously, if I'm predicting that Kreitz is going to win, Ozio definitely has a chance. So, Lisa's back home cheering that I'm predicting that Kreitz is going to win. But Kreitz threw 9 in a row there at the end and just labeled every shot. They were all the same.
All right, but one of the key statistics I think that you have to take a look at this stage is the fact that David Ozio has led 2 tournaments, now number 3 in his career, and he won both of them from the top seed position. He's a heck of a match play bowler.
Well, he is. Plus, there's always the psychology that once you bowl that big game, and he had to come back from such a big deficit, and he won that game, that there's a potential, even though he's bowling for the title, that Tom Kreitz could suffer a concentration letdown.
Well, only time will tell. They're bowling for $21,000 in first place prize money. The championship round finals of the $135,000 Kessler Classic. David Ozio, Tom Kreitz, they're the only 2 left here in Riverside. And we'll be right back. Ozio and Kreitz matched up here for the championship of the $135,000 Kessler Classic. And Kreitz starts the championship game on the left-hand lane.
And what he was waiting for was the machine was on second ball cycle, and now it's been switched to first ball cycle, so he's ready to go.
Well, in his last opportunity, threw 7 strikes on lane 45 and 3 on lane 46.
I think he likes lane 45. Interesting, if you left that any one of the shots in the 10th frame, Odom still had a chance to win that game.
Well, Curtis has to be scratching his head. He goes out there and bowls a super game and ends up on the short end of the stick.
When you have guys throwing strings of strikes, when they throw 9-baggers at you, Dan, it's hard to beat them.
Well, when you shoot 245, you're supposed to win.
Supposed to. It's the key phrase there.
Cross lane for the 10, and Kreitz with a spare in the opening frame.
It'll be interesting to see if David uses the same ball in both lanes. He talked to me earlier that he may use one ball on the right lane and another ball on the left lane. So we'll watch and see if he uses the same ball.
Off to a good start. A little bit of a swishy rack there on the right-hand lane.
Well, you want to be light that first shot. As you see the great style of David Ozio. 5 steps, pushes the ball in the second step, full extension on the push away. Now watch the backswing, shoulder height. Look at the eyes and the head, very steady, the long, long slide, and goes all the way through the shot. Look at the follow-through, straight up. That's how it's supposed to be done. For the double. Oh, leaves the 10 pin. He wanted to get out of the gate with a double right away to put some pressure on Kreitz. And he didn't switch balls. He used that same ball. He's switching now to shoot the spare. Has to hurry. Oh. Well, that's trouble. You can't afford to be missing spares in championship matches. This happens when guys switch balls to shoot spares with. The feel is different. That came off his hand early, and it just was, he lost the ball at the downswing.
Knew it when it left, too. And there you see the grimace after missing the 10. Kreitz comes back quickly, doesn't waste any time, and throttles the pocket.
Well, since that double pinochle, he's throttled the pocket every shot.
That's 12 in a row.
He wants a re-rack.
Mom's pretty patient, isn't she?
Paid off last game.
Sure did. So a re-rack on lane 45. Kreitz winning last year in Seattle. Ozio winning last summer in Edmond, Oklahoma. Both of those coming on ESPN.
Interesting, David putting a piece of tape in his spare ball. Oh, he sent it to the edge. He just has unlimited room to the right. The only way it's not coming back is if he throws it in.
He was close that time. I think what I like most about Kreitz's game, too, is his speed control.
Watch this. That's on the first board, then. And then at about 50 feet, he covers 17 boards back to the pocket.
Beautiful thing is, it almost looks like it's rolling out at the pocket. It's kind of a nice sensation. Ozio comes back, solid in the pocket in the third, and I think he better double up here on 45 or he's going to find himself in trouble.
He's going to find himself in trouble no matter what, I think. He wants a re-rack on this left lane now. His last practice shot, he left a 10-pin on 45. First shot he could bowl on that game, he leaves a 10-pin on 45. That's going through his mind. The way David is, though, he's trying to make that shot a little bit better in order to get that 10-pin out. Get that thumb out a little cleaner, a little slower with the feet. Will it carry? 10-pin again.
Well, it wiggled a little bit, had a notion, but stood tall. And, Ozio this time will have to gear up, concentrate, and take the 10 out. Average 228.9 this week. Average 245 in the fourth round of play. Won all 8 matches. Probably shot at 1,000 10-pins in the last 3 weeks, but he missed one in the second. That's the difference thus far in this one. Kreitz praying right now that he'll continue to lead here in Riverside, and we'll be back in just a moment. I doubt it. That's Kaylee Kreitz, Tom's 9-month-old daughter. Probably not allowed to stay up to watch the championship round this evening, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, that she had the VCR on tonight.
I'm sure she must have.
I think she
wants to watch her daddy.
And he leads by 22 pins at this stage.
And as we know that when he gets wired in, he seems to take it out off the sheet. Going high. Soft on the speed. Just not the extension that he had the shots before. It's a break for Ozio. Keeps him in the match a little bit. Cuts that lead down to 20 pins, and David can, if he can get anything going, he's still alive.
Kreitz with 4 PBA titles thus far in a 7-year career. Earned a little better than $41,000 thus far this season. On top this week, though, $21,000.
Both pins with the ball, the way you're supposed to do it.
Psychologically, Ozio has to be feeling a little better at this point. At least he has stopped the bleeding.
But he's got to find a way to strike on lane 45. Get that 10-pin out of there.
Ah, yes, and coming up on SportsCenter, Bob Lee, Dan Patrick. They'll be announcing the baseball all-star team. The NFL is about ready to announce a new commissioner. And John McEnroe's not making any friends, but he continues to win matches at Wimbledon. And, of course, all the baseball scores. Coming up next on SportsCenter at the completion of the Kessler Classic as Kreitz completes a perfect shot on lane 45.
Just like every shot he's thrown tonight on lane 45, he left one 10-pin. The rest have all been strikes on that lane. And if he'd win tonight, he'd be on pace with last year. Speaking of Ozio.
Needs this one desperately, rolls up too high through the nose and gets a break that he doesn't split.
One man fishing and trying to get the right line, the right carry, the other one locked in. Cross lane at the 610. No trouble.
Well, it's no time to think about the missed opportunity in the second. So got to start with each and every shot. A strike here would be key for Ozio.
Yeah, he's got half a game left. We saw Kreitz make that big comeback last game with a string of strikes. David's got to do the same thing right now. David's release is different than Kreitz. He stays more behind the ball and lifts straight up. There it is. That's the David Ozio. I mean, they come out in one game after you've run off and hit in a tournament. Pretty shot right here. Out about the third board. Makes the perfect arc. All 10 pins into the pit. Kreitz up by 22. Wants to extend it to 32. High. Boy, he almost has something on the right keeping it company. That's 2 in a row high on lane 46. And speed, Denny. He's just a hair soft on that lane, looked like to me.
Okay, so it's not time to move your feet and your target a little bit, or do you think it's
he will. I think he will.
And because it might be a mistake.
Because, well, Tom is not the type, you know, he's a stroke player, and throwing the ball excessively hard and maintaining that pretty hand release he has is just not, I don't think, his favorite move.
Mm-hmm. Hangs up in it there, and a little hop, skip, and a jump at the line, but Kreitz spares up. Lead is at 22, but keep in mind, Ozio is on a strike in the 6th.
The next 2 frames are the whole week for David Ozio coming up, because if he strikes twice, no matter what Kreitz does right here, if David comes up and strikes in the 7th and 8th, he can cut that lead to 2 pins.
Re-racks for the second time on lane 45. You see the first one and the third, so he's out of re-racks in this one.
Boy, I wouldn't have done that there, Denny. I wouldn't have re-racked there, not working on a strike. I would have waited till I was on a strike. The 9 go toward each other. Oh, I thought that ball was going to go high too. As we see the 4 and the 9, the 2 pin's going to get the 4, and something hit the 9, and they crisscross.
Big shot for Ozio, and we've got a match as Ozio comes back to double in the 7th, trims that lead now to just a dozen.
He used an awful lot of emotion on this shot, though, Dan. I just don't like to see that this early in the match. Maybe he can do it again, but usually I've found that when you use that much emotion and you've got another shot to throw right behind it, sometimes you lose concentration, but maybe David can maintain that intensity for this shot. This one's just as big.
Firm through it, but it climbs high, and he breaks up the split, and he's unhappy with himself.
See, again, you've got to pace yourself in the match. I mean, that would have been the time to show the emotion when you get to sit down and you've got 2 frames to sit and wait and get that heartbeat back under control.
3-6 remains.
14 pins right now. And Kreitz, again, has the hammer in hand. If he can strike a couple times here, he almost puts David totally out of reach. That's the only tap he's had tonight.
Better speed on that shot.
And a little better arc. He had that swing in tucked in nice and tight and sent the follow through to the right, and the arc of the ball was perfect.
Well, the best score Ozio could shoot would be 214.
Right now, Tom Kreitz going in a 218 pace. If he strikes here, he's in the 220s. Ozio would have to strike out and Kreitz open. Gets the count back, everything back. That creates a whole different ball game here. Even if he makes it, his count is down to 4. Look at the follow through. See the follow through go left?
Yep.
And the ball goes right. It almost went in the gutter. He got 6 more, and he almost than we thought he was going to get for a second.
Well, you're right. Now he's got to gear up, concentrate, and try and make the washout.
I don't think he'll hook it at this. I think he'll throw it straight.
He gave it a run. Head pin slashing just to the left of the 10, but an open 182 in the 9th now for Kreitz. If he would strike out, 212 is the best he can shoot. Ozio can win it all.
That's right. The hammer, like it's reverse of last game. Right now, the hammer and the game is on Ozio's ball. If he strikes out, he wins. Pretty shot. Oh, the 10 pin just wouldn't go. He's still in it, though, David. Don't get upset yet. You are still in this match.
Well, 9 spare here and strike out. He shoots 203, which forces Kreitz to double.
Right. But he's got to get the double in there, Dan. First order of business, make the 10 pin. No, can't afford a mistake now like he had in the second frame. That's in trouble. I thought it was going to slide off there for a second.
Well, scenario's set now. If he strikes out, he shoots 203, which forces Tom Kreitz to double.
One at a time. Got to have the first one. Down by 9 pins right now. A lot of room. And got the strike. Now notice his reaction this time. No excitement now. I mean, maybe he's learned, you know, hey, if you get the next one, then you can show the emotion. Boy, he hung that off. Woo! And sawed that 5 off. Come on, ball. All right. One more now.
That's left.
Yeah, double pinochle.
Yeah, that was left from the get-go, and soft, and about 3 boards left. Kreitz now takes a glance, but he heard the oohs and the ahs, so he knew something was lurking on lane 45.
The bad thing is, even with 8 out, he's going to finish at 191. Well, it still forces Kreitz to mark, because if Kreitz would open, we'd have a tie. He got 9 out.
Well, there you see the disappointment written all over David Ozio's face. Had an opportunity to really apply the pressure. Now it's up to Kreitz to get the job done in the 10th.
That's the way to get it done right there. And even though the money's nice, there's no place worse to finish in the tournament than second. I know a lot of guys sitting home that didn't cash don't believe that, but it just, there's a pain that goes with finishing second. You get the money, that's nice and everything, but it just hurts.
Kreitz doing what he had to do to come up a winner here this evening, and threw the great strike, the first shot in the 10th.
Here's the one that won it for him, though. The shot when he needed it. Sent it, trusted it out all the way. Perfect in the 1-3 pocket.
If you're going to win, that's the way to do it. As he reacts to the strike. So Tom Kreitz, the winner of the $135,000 Kessler Classic here at Active West Town Square Lanes. David Ozio finishing second. $12,000, and a lot of disappointment for that man. But he'll regroup and be back next week. And we'll be back to chat with Tom Kreitz after we take this time out. Along with Mike Durbin, we're going to get ready for our video recap. An exciting night of bowling here.
Well, we're going to go back to the first match and take a look at Tony Westlake versus Curtis Odom. And Westlake was way behind at first, but Odom in the 9th frame right here finally figured out what to do on the right lane on lane 46. And as he had done many times during the night, he tripped that 4-pin and shows his reaction there. That was the key shot, at least what we considered the key shot for him to win that first game. 206 to 163. And Tony Westlake is still saying, why didn't I use that other ball earlier?
All right, and then Curtis is saying, all right, I've won the opening game. Now it's time to take on Bryan Goebel of Merriam, Kansas, and it was a tough match in game number 2.
Well, he figured he had the advantage over Bryan because it was his first telecast ever of any kind on national TV, and he figured that he would take advantage and have the experience in this match. He's working on a turkey right here, bowled well on lane 45 all night long, and he threw a lot of shots just like that. And he disposed of Bryan Goebel rather easily in that second match.
Right, 226 to 183, and you know, things were looking pretty nice for Mr. Odom, and he bowled a brilliant game in the semifinal. Unfortunately, he ran into Tom Kreitz.
He ran into somebody who just didn't stop striking, threw 9 strikes in a row, and it's hard to beat those guys that throw 9-baggers at you. Right here, Kreitz is throwing in the 10th frame, and that was the last shot. That was the 12th shot that locked it up at 256 as the headpin came off the sideboard, and we see Tom's reaction. 256 to 245, but that one locked the shot up.
And that was the difference in the semifinal game. And there's a look at Mr. Tom Kreitz. A little round of applause for our newest champion. Come on over here, Thomas. First question for you before we get to the presentations here. You had the big game in the semifinal. Was there any kind of a letdown when you faced Ozio in the title match?
Well, we had about a 10-minute break, and that's always tough to deal with whenever the nerves catch up with you and stuff. I would like to dedicate this tournament to the memory of my brother. He died in an automobile accident in October, and I've been trying with all my heart to win a tournament so I could dedicate to his memory.
All right. And now, without further ado, I'll introduce Mr. Marty Howard of Kessler Whiskey, who has a check worth $21,000, Thomas.
Congratulations, Tom. You did some great bowling. It was really fun to watch you. And before I make a presentation, I want to thank a couple people. First of all, the PBA for association with bowling, and Kevin Shippey, who really does a great job. And to Bill, to the Active West group. They really put on a great bowling tournament, and it was real nice. And now it's a pleasure to give you a check for $21,000 and say congratulations.
Thanks.
By the way, also have a pocket size that you can take to the bank with you.
This one I can spend. Thank you, Marty. Thank you. I would also like to thank Kessler for sponsoring the tournament, Active West for hosting a fine tournament here in Riverside. They did a great job this week. They treated us like real pros, and we appreciate it.
All right, moving in now, Bill Martin, the general manager here. Billy always does a great job with the tournament. Now he gets to present the beautiful trophy.
Tommy, I heard you make a little comment a little bit earlier during one of the matches. You're just taking care of business. Well, you took care of business all week, and on behalf of Active West Bowling and Recreation Centers, I'd like to congratulate you as our champion and hope to see you back next year.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I'd also like to say thanks to my mom and my aunt and uncle and my cousins who came down and supported me this week. It was really nice. They live real close by. And say hello to all of my fans in Tampa Bay. They always support me. Appreciate it.
Only have 30 seconds to go. You're 2 for 2 in title matches on ESPN. You'll continue to watch our channel. Is that correct?
Oh, every week. Hopefully I'll be doing the bowling instead of the watching, but whenever I don't bowl, I'm definitely watching.
Well, an outstanding performance for Tom Kreitz, the champion here. It's time for us to leave Riverside, California, as he wins the $135,000 Kessler Classic. So long, everyone, from the West Coast. The $135,000 Kessler Classic have been brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Aqua Velva.